what's happening right now in the industry is that brands feel the pressure that they need to be doing advertising on YouTube, but they don't know the ins and outs of it. And YouTubers want to be working with brands. And so both the businesses and the YouTubers lack a degree of sophistication. And so the middleman comes in, the agencies.
This is Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today we have a YouTube celebrity. So today we have Jeremy Johnston, who is the father and the dad of the clan over at JHouseVlogs, a YouTube channel with over 2.5 million subscribers. So, smash that like button, ring the bell, whatever you're supposed to do. But welcome out to the show, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
So I think what's really neat about YouTube, I love going back to the early days of YouTube, the concept of everybody can publish, right? Everyone has their own channel. What do you feel that YouTubers are entrepreneurs?
Definitely. And more so now as you see what can be done with YouTubers and the businesses that are growing out of it.
So when was the moment that you first realized you're an entrepreneur?
I think I always was an entrepreneur at heart. And growing up, I wanted to be a filmmaker. And honestly, I went and worked at a motion picture studio in college and saw that I couldn't really be an entrepreneur if I was going to do traditional media. Instead, I was just going to be a cog in a big broken system that I didn't want to be a part of. And so that was when I decided I'm not going to do traditional media. But then when I saw family vlogging, the genre that I decided to go into, the very first day I saw it, I went into my wife and I was like, this is what we're going to do. We are going to be family vloggers. And at the time I was practicing law. I was a civil litigator and I was billing hours and I was in the office all the time. And I was like, we could literally film what we're doing as a family and not have to work for anyone else and have the freedom to experience and do whatever we want to do. And, it ended up happening. That was that dream from that very first day of seeing it to today. It's been really miraculous, exciting, fun journey. But I think I've always been an entrepreneur at heart and saw this as the path to, fulfill that.
I love that. It seems like there is, for people getting into vlogging or family vlogging, especially, there's a lot of people that start and then there's a drop off, right? And you had a pretty decent job. How did you know, what was the on-ramp from when you had the idea to where you could actually even say, hey, we're making money? And then what was the next step to where you could actually say, hey, we've replaced income? What was that timeline and what were the challenges you faced then?
So the first vlog I ever saw was on April 2nd, 2014. I saw a vlog. I went and I had that conversation with my wife. And she wasn't on board at all. She's not a risk taker. She's very private. She didn't want to do it. And I continued to watch vlogs every day from then on out. I was studying it. I was paying attention, which families are getting the most views? What are they doing in their videos? And just really paying attention and continuing to kind of pester Kendra, hey, I really think we should do this. I really think we should do it. And around August, I was continuing to talk to her about it, and she eventually prayed about it and felt really good about it, which I was like, great, let's do this. And she kind of saw the vision of the good that can be done in the world, the opportunities for our family outside of the vlogging, what it could do for our family. We actually started homeschooling that same month that we posted our first video. And the first video went up in September of 2014. So there was that period of time where it was working through it with her, coming to our why, so that we could both agree on. And we had a contract between us of what we would and would not allow, we're not going to show these certain things. We're going to protect our children's privacy in this way. And we were on the same page about that. And then we were able to go from there and just never looked back from that first video we posted September 18th, 2014. And we took off from there. Of course, no one was watching at first.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So how do you stay motivated, even though that first video may not get substantial traction? Because I think that this is valid whether you're in YouTube or whether you're creating on social media or whether you're building an email list. I think there's that same thing where you go from excitement to that lull of where you're not getting the response yet, how did you guys stay motivated?
Really, by studying what was happening and what was working, I did have an accurate perspective that growth wouldn't happen immediately. So we said, look, let's set a goal to post every day for a year, knowing that this is just the planting and watering every day phase. Like no fruits are coming. I didn't expect to make any money. I did set goals of, we should be at 1,000 subscribers by this point. And I was mostly paying attention to the views. And I've always paid more attention to that. Views always mattered more than subscribers. Subscribers is kind of an arbitrary number, but views is what determines income. Like that was the metric I was looking at. And I was paying attention through time, like this is where we should be. And even though we didn't make, I don't think, any money in that first year, I mean, maybe like $10 or something, we were on track to the goals that I had set. And so that kept us motivated. And then it was at the 1.5 to 2 year mark where things just took off. And then the exponential, the snowball gets big enough. But again, I was working full time as a lawyer. I was up till 2 or 3 a.m. every night editing and trying to post. We only made it 9 months of going 7 days a week. And it just was so hard. So we went to 6 days a week for the next couple of years. And, but yeah, we had realistic expectations. We stuck with it, even though the fruit wasn't showing up until 1.5 to 2 years in. And that was essential because otherwise you give up.
Yeah. And it seems like you took a very analytical approach instead of like an emotional, excited approach of, hey, let's do it and let's just start, right? You said, no, here's going to be the strategy. Here's going to be like the steps. We're not going to see results until this date. And that gave you a little bit more of a long-term vision because, so many people get started and they quit before that hockey stick moment even starts to happen, right? Because 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't feel real big, but when all of a sudden you're compounding, into your thousands of viewers. I mean, you have a couple of views, or one of your videos is 79 million views, right? That's a totally like going from, your first video getting a few thousand views at, or whatever it was, to millions of views on a video. What were some of the things that you noticed led to the videos that spiked in views?
It can be really frustrating because you don't have control over that. And it really is, it comes down in some extent to the algorithm. And that's the scientific part of it. But I'm an artist at heart. I wanted to capture those beautiful natural nuggets of goodness of family life or of daily life,
right,
and put them into this edited story. But it would be early on. It was like we had some tornado warnings that happened where we were running down to the basement. And that's a real clicky, it wasn't clickbait, like we had a tornado warning. And so we made that video and we captured like this was our experience going down to the basement. And that's something we did regularly when we were living in Kansas City. There was tornadoes all the time. And so we captured that, we caught the moment and made a video of it. And it had that thumbnail and title that was attractive to a very broad audience. And so I remember when that video hit 10,000 views or 20,000 views. But then if your other content is compelling and good, then you begin to grow little by little in that way. But some of those early ones were that. And I didn't realize at the time, but our Christmas videos and our birthday videos are now what really ended up taking off, where those are the things people want to watch, is the high moments of, what is traditional in a family, those holiday moments. Yeah. And I had to go back through and update some of the thumbnails and titles to actually make it to what people wanted to see, because I didn't understand that up front.
And that's really interesting because you guys, I didn't realize that you posted so frequently. And so, but even then you post all of that time, but the ones that spike are the big moments, which is interesting because that's what a lot of other people do. They only post their big moments. And I think what you're missing is like the backstory, right? So you're posting backstory and then a highlight, and that might pull more people in, but the people who have followed along the backstory, they engage with it even deeper. And that's probably what brings people so close. And people probably feel like they're part of the JHouse, right? And people are part of the family.
Yeah, we hear that. And it has been sad for us as we've transitioned, because we did kind of an 80-20 analysis 2 or 3 years in, where it's like, what are the top 20% of videos that get the 80% of views? And at this point, we now are only posting 1 video a week. And so since December, all we have posted is Christmas, and we have 4 of our kids have birthdays. So it's been the birthday videos and and their birthday party videos and Easter. And we feel that separation. It isn't as intimate, but we did regain our life too. We are doing other things. I have other business things, but definitely for those first 3 or 4 years where we were posting all the time, there was that you're part of our family experience, which is a neat part of what vlogging is all about.
Absolutely. So how did you continue to face those challenges as you guys grew of maintaining your privacy and maintaining the contract with you and your wife, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you faced in those first few years, as you went from that first year of figuring it out to years 2 and 3 of growth? What were some of those challenges and how'd you overcome them?
I think a lot of it is between Kendra and I, there were a lot of issues of balance. I mean, anytime you're working where your business partner is your wife, there's going to be some challenges. Which brand deal should we do? Are we doing too many brand deals? Or,
Right.
What should we post and what shouldn't we post? I was always wanting to push the envelope a little bit more. And honestly, Kendra holding us back ended up saving us a lot, because in 2017, YouTube cracked down on families who were posting stuff that were, shocking or harmful of kids. And we didn't post that stuff.
Right.
Or we had removed that stuff. I mean, there were mistakes we made. There were times where I crossed the line and then we ended up deleting it, but we did that before the crackdown from YouTube. And so,
give us an example of what other people were doing, just so we're clear. Like,
sure.
What is like shock type things or
exactly. I mean, and this was something that I fell into the trap of as well. As we would be filming our kid riding a bike for the first time and they would fall and scrape their knee or whatever. And we were just capturing it. We're like, it's just part of family life,
Absolutely.
And so it was removing those things where it's like, we're not going to show our kids when they fall and get hurt. It's hard though, because that was some of the best content in regards to them facing their fears. One of the kids would be scared to go on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
They would be scared to ride this water slide, and, it would be capturing that moment and then showing them overcome, and for us, it was showing them getting up and riding the bike again. That was so powerful. And as a dad, you see that stuff all the time.
So did you have to stop completely, or did you just have to make sure it was shown in a light where it wasn't like highlighting the injuries and highlighting the negatives?
Yeah, we completely removed that. And that was really YouTube really cracked down on that, where it's like, we're not going to be showing that kind of stuff. And so we stopped doing it or removed it. And that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. But that was just a lesson learned. I've told you too, I mean, we're friends separate outside of doing this podcast, but Kendra and I have done a lot of marriage counseling. We've spent a lot of time trying to fix our parenting. And when you're working together and you just have this business so connected with your family life, it's been helpful for us to get as much help as we can to really try to work through those things. And now we're doing more separation, where I'm doing businesses that aren't so connected with the family and only posting 1 video a week. And it's beautiful because we have these 1,500 videos from the videos that we made before. And so we don't have to continue doing it so much. And I can do other businesses. And that's been good for us to have that separation as well between business and family.
So, I mean, you've been doing this almost 8 years now, or 8 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. In April, or I guess by September is when you started publishing. That'll be your 8 years, but you guys have 5 kids. Are any of them under 8?
Yeah. So when we started, Laura crawled her first day. Our oldest son did his first day of kindergarten homeschool, like the first, day we were posting. Yeah. And then Janae was born, in 2017. And again, with family vlogging, that's such a fabulous storyline. We had struggled with infertility before. And so there's getting pregnant and then the pregnancy journey. What are we going to name the child? What is the gender of the child? And then the baby coming home for the first time and the baby walking for the first time. And again, obviously we didn't have a kid to make vlogs of it.
Nope.
But that story, there's these constant stories that are so amazing. And we're grateful now when we look back that we have captured that.
You've also documented for your sake.
Yeah.
But what I think is sometimes forgotten, right, is during that time, you also were humans for those 8 years. So of course you and your wife are going to need to have conversations and grow and evolve. And so I think it's great that you talk openly that you guys, hey, you know what? We work on marriage counseling. We have to have continued conversations, because I think sometimes that it either gets completely ignored or blown up to the other side where it's like,
and we were open about that on the vlog too. So we told people from the beginning, like, hey, we're in counseling today, and we're, that was part of it. We were never trying to hide the imperfections of our family. That was something that, one of the things that we were most worried about is these little girls might watch our vlogs and think it's perfect to have 5 kids and everything's wonderful. And it's like, we don't want to paint that picture. And we would try to explain the hard parts of it. But no matter how much you say it, the vlogs still turn out feeling like more magical because they're just a short little compilation of the fun parts.
So with doing that, with growing and with doing all those things together, and again, 8 years you've been working on this and building this, and you mentioned that you were worried that other people are going to see a specific type of thing, but you also mentioned earlier that Kendra was concerned about privacy. So how do you balance transparency and privacy?
I think that we're really open, and that's kind of Kendra's superpower, is she's authentically broken and willing to be that way. And that is to her friends. That's just who she is. But if people start showing up at your house, that's kind of a separate issue, Sure. And so being careful about what you will show. And we've even at times hired people to make sure that our personal information isn't publicly available online, where we're actually making sure that things aren't just out there of our address or our phone number. And so we have taken measures to try to make sure we're safe.
That makes sense.
But the biggest thing is just being careful about what you show, not having your license plate, not having your address, not filming in front of your house. And we've broken all those rules at times too, because when you're filming that much, we weren't always perfect about it, but doing everything you can to correct that and do the best you can to keep it safe.
So that makes sense. So you're being open about your emotions and your life and your stories, but you're being like having some defense around location and things like that from a safety standpoint. That makes a ton of sense.
We're much more careful with our kids though too. We're not going to divulge their stories, like some family vloggers really open up about things that are very private of their kids, and we try to be respectful of that, where it's like, we don't want to embarrass them. If there is anything that's on the line, we'll ask them and be like, we don't have to do this. And if they approach us and say, hey, I want to do this. And honestly, any filming we do, we ask them every time, hey, do you want to vlog your birthday or not? We're never trying to put it on them.
That's awesome. I think that's really good. Sometimes parents think that they don't need consent from their kids for those types of things, but I think it's really important, especially as your kids get older and get into different ages of life. They may have those past agreements might evolve and change, right? Talk to us a little bit about the business, the entrepreneurship side of YouTube. So there's brand deals, there's the YouTube revenue. What was the thing that caught you the most off guard?
I think it was how much opportunity you had and how much anxiety I faced in trying to pick the right next thing to do. Because, if you suddenly, we had billions of views on YouTube and you're getting reached out to all the times with opportunities. And I remember we would have a list of 32 things where it's like, should we write a book? Should we do another YouTube channel? Should we do a channel for each of our kids? Should we do a law firm? I ended up choosing to do a law firm, and it ended up not working out for us in the end. I ended up moving away and things changed. And so then it gets discouraging, when you pick a certain thing and it doesn't work out. So that's been a thing. I just started an online course, and it's like, that's been in the back of my head for a long time. So committing and picking what to do with the opportunities that come up is really overwhelming. And that's been the hardest, most stressful part that I wouldn't have anticipated. The burden of success, which, that sounds so
I get it.
ridiculous to say, like, oh, poor me, the burden of success. But that has been the hardest thing, is dealing with that, the anxiety of that.
One of the worst, most unsuspecting burdens of success that I've seen is that people who have been really successful in one thing actually feel the pain of failure more when they struggle in something. So the way you even just talked about your law firm, that's actually really normal to get into a business, realize maybe it's not what you want. Maybe you sell it, maybe you move on, maybe you walk away, whatever. But you have this big successful YouTube channel. So part of your identity is that you are good at it. Right. And so it's
you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And with the online course, I should have launched it a year ago, but I was so concerned about, because so many people are going to see it, and I didn't want it to feel exploitative to my audience, and I didn't want it to be garbage. Like so many online courses put all their effort into selling, and then it's not really much better than a free podcast in the end. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I had all this extra weight and burden that I put on myself of like, this course has to be amazing. So I spent a year working on it, and I overkilled, like I did so much because of that anxiety of knowing I already had an audience, that I didn't need to do all that extra effort that I did, but it was that worry of having an audience already available to jump into something.
But it's almost this weird thing where we're worried about the criticism that might happen.
Yeah.
So to such a degree that we're changing our actions now because we may get criticized later. And in the big picture, like that's something I would never want my kids to do. Hey, I want you to make big actions regardless of criticism. And yet we end up doing it sometimes, and it's part of the journey, part of us always continuing to grow and to learn.
And honestly, I have felt kind of a rebirth just in the last year or so. And it has been the acceptance of failure, because even with this online course, nothing has gone as I've thought. And I'm embracing it. I'm enjoying it. It's like, hey, I'm back into problem solving. And that's where I love to be. And even as a YouTuber, it was constantly problem solving that led to the success. It wasn't like it just went perfect. It was, every week saying, how do we need to adjust the videos based on the audience retention? Or what am I learning from the click-through rate? Or what adjustments do we need to make because of laws that are changing or YouTube algorithm adjustments? Like, it was the constant problem solving that led to the success. Having that excitement into my new ventures is what I was lacking. And I'm regaining again and enjoying it.
Yeah. And so it's like you spent all this time studying what was working best in YouTube and doing all these things, but then also calling audibles as you learned. But now when you launch your next thing, you forget that you had that year of like beta testing.
Exactly.
You're actually live, right? And now we all want to launch after that first year, but it's like, no, you still have to go through that first year again, where the results might not be as great. The reactions may not be as strong. But the nice thing about success and momentum is that year becomes a month and it shrinks down, and as long as you actually get into it. I'd like to flip it a little bit. So you guys are a channel and you do brand deals, right? Mm-hmm. What is your advice to brands who want to work with YouTubers and influencers? What should they know before reaching out to somebody like JHouse?
What's happening right now in the industry is that brands feel the pressure that they need to be doing advertising on YouTube, but they don't know the ins and outs of it. And YouTubers want to be working with brands. And so both the businesses and the YouTubers lack a degree of sophistication. And so the middleman comes in, the agencies,
Yep.
And some agencies are really great and some are taking advantage, and because they can, because, both sides, the business and the YouTubers lack a degree of sophistication, and it's such a new area. And so being really careful about who you're hiring to do this work with you is so important, making sure that it is the right agency and that they understand the metrics correctly and what you should be looking for. That's what I would say to businesses that are looking to get into this.
What are some of the coolest brand deals you guys got to work on?
I mean, I've been so happy with our most recent partnerships. We've done 9, I think, videos with Lego, and we're just getting ready to do some more with Nintendo. And those are like brands that are just a dream come true. I mean, to be working with Lego and Nintendo, it's just really natural. I mean, I grew up playing Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
And our family is always playing with Lego.
Right.
And it's opened doors too, where not only were we able to do some of these Lego brand deals, but then, we had done a podcast during COVID. And we were able to sit down and talk to the creators of the new, Lego Mario set and hear his origin story. And so those partnerships have been really fulfilling and really neat. It just blows my mind. And our kids, we just joke about it. It's like we're getting paid to play Nintendo and to play with Lego blocks. Like, this is unbelievable. And those have been some of the greatest ones for us.
Cool. So are most of those put together in kind of a expected CPM type model where it's like, hey, this is the number of views most of our videos get. So therefore, just this type of advertising sells out at this rate per thousand or whatever, right? Is that typically roughly? Yeah,
exactly. That's what they're looking for. And more the agencies are putting in these make good clauses where it's like, oh, if it doesn't end up getting this amount of views, then you'll do an extra post. Cool. And so the agencies are starting to shift the burden to the creators. I normally fight against those, But again, if you're working with certain brands and you build those relationships, I mean, to me, the most exciting thing is with Lego and Nintendo. And there've been other, like Hallmark was another company where we did tons of deals with them. When you're doing many of them, there is this relationship that gets built, and that's the neatest thing instead of just one-off stuff.
Yeah, if you're doing a 9-video package with Lego and they feel like one of them didn't hit, I'm sure you're okay to do another one.
Yeah,
like that's because it's a big contract. But if it's one deal and you're like, yeah, you know what, nobody cared about your product, well, you know, what can you do? So I like those bigger long-term.
The other thing for us, we've seen a lot of creators kind of oversaturate their content with promotional stuff. And we were lucky because we get a lot of views into where ad revenue has always been our highest earning. Like we don't have to do brand deals, but we've decided let's only do about 12 a year. Let's try not to do more than one a month on average.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's been a big blessing to us to not be overwhelmed with it, because those do get really stressful. And if you are taking brands that you don't believe in, you know, so Kendra and I also had a whole paradigm that we made. Like, these are the rules for brand deals. If we couldn't tell our friends about it, if we aren't genuinely excited about it,
right,
we don't want to do it. And
good.
There were times where we were on the border of that, you know, like in the earlier, like you make mistakes as you're learning. And obviously it's easy to say that now when we get the big, wonderful brands, but that was something we tried to do throughout as people were coming. Like, would we genuinely promote this to our friends if we weren't getting paid for it? And if not, we probably shouldn't do this, because our relationship with our viewers really is more valuable than whatever they can pay us to promote something.
I think that's super powerful. And I think really, in my opinion, like ethical capitalism means that should be everything that you do, right? You don't take a deal that you don't feel good that just for the money, right? It has to be money and it meets your, you know, your ethos. But two quick questions. One, where do people find out more about your course?
Yeah, you can go to JHouseVlogs.com. And that's our website, where that'll give you an introduction to like a free training where you can kind of see the beginning of the course. And again, like I said, I'm learning so much about it. Right now, I've made the course for kids, you know, for parents who have kids that want to be YouTubers, but they don't know where to go and they don't know how to make it safe, or they're worried about their kids becoming divas and, you know, the self-focus that comes with social media.
Sure.
And so I've created this course and you can check it out there, but I'm sure into the future, I'll eventually do one for adults as well and make it more exciting. I mean, that's part of what I'm learning is how can I give the information that we have in a way that's more digestible for a bigger group of people?
Okay. I love that. And then you guys have already made some really big lifestyle changes, but to me, business and entrepreneurship is about having the freedom to create the lifestyle that you want. What is one item on your personal, not your business or family, but the Jeremy bucket list you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
I want to do better at letting go of control. It's been really hard for me to hire help, and that really limits your ability to do more exciting stuff. And so it's been exciting. You know, I started a new channel, JHouse Junior, and I have editors from all over the world right now, Pakistan and Ukraine, and I'm giving more freedom and I'm okay with it. You know, it's been really hard for me for things not to be perfect. And I'm that perfectionist, and it's letting go of that, just saying, you know what, for years, we didn't do this channel because I was holding it up and because I was the bottleneck and because I was getting in the way, and I want to get out of the way. And so I'm going to hire help. And even with the online course, like I've recently hired people to help with the copywriting or to help with other stuff. And it's hard because I'm a lawyer. I know how to write. Like I want to write the stuff, but I really don't have the time to do that. And that isn't my zone of genius, you know? And so being willing to hire people so that I can create so much more is exciting and fun. And that's what is going to happen over these next 12 months. That takes it to a whole nother level and opens up opportunities for a lot more businesses beyond just what we're doing right now.
I love that. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming out on the show. Everyone, please, on YouTube, go check out JHouseVlogs. Check out JHouseVlogs.com. You can also find them on Instagram, on Twitter, on all the socials. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming out on the show. And
I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me. That was
absolutely fun. And to all my biz ninjas, wherever you are listening, it's your turn to go out and do something.
Thank you for listening to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with Tyler Jorgensen. Please make sure to subscribe so you're first to hear new interviews and episodes. If you found this podcast to be valuable, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to visit our online dojo at bizninja.com to claim your reward for listening to the show.